So this unit's going to be quite a lot different to the last unit. We're going to be having centrifugal fans, 2 per container per 40 foot, mounted on the top, and they are going to be then blowing air from inside the container out into ductwork that's going to come down the side of the container, branch into a T there, and we're going to have ducting all the way along the bottom of the container here, which will then branch off on these T's here into the container at the bottom. So the hot air is coming from the top, where the hottest air is, coming down and pushing it back in at the bottom of the cages, which I think is going to work absolutely amazing, because you're taking the hot air from the top down to the bottom. Secondly, the fans are on top of the container, so these are high temperature fans, so they can deal with the high temperature of air, and also it increases the amount of space we have inside the container itself. So we're literally going to have 2 holes in the roof sucking air out of the container on the outside, and then we're going to have lots of holes along the bottom here, probably in this plate of aluminium. So we're going to have lots of holes. We're going to have 8 either side. Now, a 40 foot container like this has 9 IBCs long. So you'll almost have a duct per IBC. And we're going to have it on exactly the same on the other side as well. So you can imagine hot air coming up, being sucked up through the centrifugal fans, out, down, and pushed back in all the way along the container. To get the warm air from the Eco-Angus burner itself, I'm just going to branch a duct straight in here, so there won't be any ductwork inside either. So it will just be blown straight in, and then the centrifugal fans will then move it around and mix it up with whatever air's in here at the moment. I'm not going to have any lights in this unit, just because I really don't want to hit them with the forklift. I am planning on driving in here with the forklift and having 2 IBCs high, possibly in a pyramid shape, for 2 on the bottom, 1 in the middle, or even 2 high, 2 wide. We're just going to have to work out with the airflow situation, see how good it is. We then, of course, are going to need a vent to let out the excess air, because obviously with the burner itself, you're adding new air all the time, and there's going to be a positive pressure inside the kiln. Now, we don't want a positive pressure because it will put increased workload on the fans on the burner itself, and also having vents like we did last time, it takes out the wet air, the moist air, the steam basically coming off of the logs. So I am debating whether to have a vent either end of the container. Because we're not worried about blowing the air from one end to the other, we're going to be having a mix of air all through the container itself. I might have a vent that end and a vent this end. I'm unsure. And again, a lot of people have asked. We're going to have the vents at the top, because that's where the wet air is. Right. So I've gone ahead and done rough measurements of where each duct is going to go. This is the centre line here. So we'll have 4 either side of the centre line. The ends will be 90 degrees. And then between them, they are T's. Now, the fans that are going on the roof have 150 millimetre ductwork coming off of them. So that will be 150 mil from the fan down the container into this Y here to evenly distribute the air down either side of the ductwork. Then from there, they will have reducers on either end of here, go down to 100 mil. So from the 100 mil, because we obviously need, you know, you're taking air through the fan, there's a lot of pressure there, and there's a lot of air volume, but dissipating one fan over 8 outlets, I want to make sure it's even throughout the whole ductwork. So we're reducing it down to 100 to increase, to sustain the pressure in the ductwork itself, and then from there they're going to be going into the container in 64mm holes. So they're not going to be massive, but there should be a decent amount, So they're not going to be massive, but there's going to be a decent amount of pressure coming out of these, I'm hoping. I'm sure there's a way of working it out, but like before, I just trial and error, see what happens. If there isn't enough pressure, I can always cover half these up. If there's too much pressure, I could always add some if I wanted to. I was thinking I could add one in the centre here, down the middle column, but I didn't want it to prioritise that one before it got to the Y. So I'm going ahead and doing this first, and then going forward, we'll have to see how it runs. Now, obviously, with the ducting on the outside of the container, it's all very well in this temperature. You know, it's 20 degrees today, lovely, but we're looking through to the winter. We are going to need to insulate this. Now, you can get insulated ducting, but it's very expensive. So I've gone ahead and ordered some rock wool insulation with, it's got a foil outer layer. It is designed for ducting, but because it's outside, we're then going to have to wrap it in this thin rubber coating to stop moisture and rain, rain getting inside and ruining all the rock wool. So, as I said, we've had a rough measure up. I'm going to use the brackets here. This line along the bottom of the container is a really good judge. So we're gonna fit all these like that there. So it'll be all nice and neat. We haven't got to do too much measuring. I'm going to use that as the baseline, and then the duct will then sit on top of this, and we'll insulate it all once it's been applied. I've got I think 4 or 5 of these each side, and then I will have a support up the centre ductwork, and obviously it'll be mounted to the fan at the top also. So I'm going to go ahead and put a few of these on, and then I can work out where my holes are going and start cutting these. I'm unsure whether to get a 65 or 68mm drill bit and do nice neat holes, or I can cut a square out with my angle grinder, so we've got a bit of play, and then get them all set up, and then we can spray around it with fireproof expanding foam. I think that's the option I'm going to go for, because I feel like a drill bit will blunten quite quickly, and also I have angle grinders at hand, and spray around it will then stiffen up the whole thing anyway. So that's what I think I'm going to go for. But we're going to go ahead and start with these brackets first. We can always give it a second coat after. I do need to get around to do it, but it's just started raining again now. Got a bit of off weather, so I can't commit to painting when it's raining. Hopefully early next week I can get over and done with the painting side. Anyway, we'll get on with these now. Using tech screws again. I find they work really well for getting through this side of the container. These ones are a bit long. I've still got to get some smaller ones from the hardware store. Just going to eye it up. We've got the measurement here. This is where every inlet is going. So we're going roughly here. I'm trying to make sure this plate is far enough away from this. We're going to go here roughly. So as you can see, I think that's going to look really smart. Nice clean brackets. So as you can see, I've marked up what I've got to cut. I've gone ahead and put in the stands now for the ducting. I'm going to go ahead and cut my first hole, and I'll work from one end across. So I've just got to line up them cross lines. I'm going to be using an angle grinder with a cutting disc. One thing I will say, get a good respirator, because when you start cutting into the insulation that's inside this wall, it is extremely toxic. It's not healthy. So that's the main thing to wear, is a respirator, and then obviously glasses and ear protection if you can. But yeah, that stuff's real toxic. So I'm just going to cut into that now, and then I'll have to drill holes like I did last time. Drill holes through to get my point, to get my corners, that I can go in the inside and cut the inside, and it all should be nice and straight through. Cut out the insulation, and that'll be the first hole done. First one of 8 this side, and then 8 on the other side. So with a long sharp drill bit now, just go in each corner. And because we're going through the aluminium, it doesn't take long at all. I find that's the quickest way of measuring on both sides of this wall. I'm sure you could measure from the inside, but it would take a long time. So now if we have a quick look inside. See 4 holes. All we've got to do is get the grinder and connect them up, and we'll have a hole, first hole into the kiln. Now it looks like it's going to work out absolutely perfect. So you've got the pallet of the container, you know, roughly here. This is going to be blowing straight in to the bottom of the IBC. It's going to work out just right, I think. And nothing is going to protrude from the wall. It's going to be recessed in the wall, just pushing out hot air. So I'll grind out the other side now, and then we'll punch our way through. So what I do, I just get a plasterboard saw. There we go, our finished hole. Nice and clean, minimal measuring. And that's how we're going to do all of them. What I'll do, obviously this one I've done for the camera, but I'll go along and cut all the outsides, drill all the outsides, come in here, drill all the insides, and it won't take long at all. So now we'll get this set up. This will need a female or a bit of duct just to match these two up. But you can get the idea. Here. That's obviously going to go on the inside of that. And that will then blow the hot air at floor level into the wood. Perfect.